Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets. Hope you guys all had a good weekend. We're going to go over the NBA slate for this evening. Following this, at about 1, we're going to do the NHL slate. And after that, at about 2, we're going to do the NFL Showdown slate. We have quite a bit of sports over the next, 8 days. We have, if not mistaken, we have big NBA slate tonight, big NHL slate. Tomorrow, I guess we don't have anything. But then we have all kinds of Christmas games, basketball and football. We have all kinds of stuff on Friday. We have a football game on Friday. We have Boxing Day EPL on the 26th, followed by, obviously, a full NFL slate this weekend. So because I'm here solo, we're going to do what I usually do is I am going to share my projections and take kind of a slow look at the projections as they stand now, see who looks decent, and we'll do some preliminary builds. All right, so let's share my screen. Oops, let's move source for a second. Share screen. Okay. So before we actually get into the projections, let's take a look at the slate. Let's take a look at who's playing and how it kind of spreads out. Sorry, I'm done with my sickness, but for some reason I'm still coughing. So you have a whole bunch of 7 o'clock games here, just kind of eyeballing them. Got a 220 total here, pretty close game. 230 total here, but kind of a blowout possibility. Philadelphia, this game is just okay. Just kind of gazing here. Boston, Orlando, feels like a low-scoring game. Minnesota, Atlanta, this looks 225 and close. Knicks 226 blowout, 213 for the Miami game. Well, that's a crazy slate, huh? Memphis 228 and a sort of a close spread. Oh my God, Milwaukee, Chicago 230 at Pick'em. Wow. Well, without saying much, I imagine that this would be primed to generate some fantasy points. And all these are before 8 o'clock. Look at this slate. This slate's amazing. Everything's done by 8:30. Well, every game goes off by 8:30. Done by 10:45-ish or 11. And it closes out with a 230 total, Portland, Dallas. So we got a pretty full slate. Wow. All right, let's take a look. Want to go game by game here? Let's first take a look overall, and then we'll go back to game by game. How about that? Like if we sort the whole slate right now by point per dollar, so you have one guy that really stands out. Check this out. So you have Ryan Rollins with almost a 25-point projection at 3,500. I guess starting or whatever from Milwaukee. 7x projection is going to generate quite a bit of support. Let's put it that way. And even at this early stage, you're seeing a 48% ownership projection. Even on an enormous slate, that could even end up higher. So that's going to be the main source of value, at least for now. So I'm already thinking in my head, do I want to play him with, say, Giannis and some Chicago guys on the other side, and without even seeing their projections? Other things that stand out as I look here are these Minnesota guys, like 3 of them. All look like good values, all under 5K. Now, they're not over 6X or anything like that, but this makes for a very interesting stacking situation if you were inclined to do that. Now, and then you have 2 guys from Orlando, which it's funny. I was expecting to speak about another Orlando guy when we got to that game, and we will. But Wendell Carter Jr. at 4,800 and Goga 6,400 looked like pretty good values there. So there is a decent amount of value even at this early stage. Then we'll resort this by Sheets value score just to see who we think is really going to just put up some points here. You do get like big studs. This is quite the slate. You get Giannis and Luka on the slate. And then you group this next group together, I guess. Shea, Cat, LaMelo. They all have like 50-point projections pretty much. Embiid. And then I think there's a bit of a drop. So there's a lot to choose from. And because you have the ability to, with the desire to play some of these 10, 11K guys, that Ryan Rollins play is going to be extremely popular and probably for good reason. Let's go back and take a look, like game by game, and see if anything kind of rings a bell here. So with Charlotte, Houston, I mentioned that LaMelo looked like a really good play, right? And did I mention anything on the Charlotte side? I mean, on the Houston side? Not really, but let's just kind of take a look then to see if anybody just kind of shows that. And we can sort this by team if you want. I just kind of like to gaze at this main page here. So if I can't find him right away, it probably doesn't project all that great. So it looks to me to be just kind of LaMelo from this game. And it does look like a pretty strong play. Oh, no, there is Sengun. So Sengun is fine. It's just a little bit below the main guys. Now, when you go to points per dollar, let's see if anything else kind of rears its head. Not really. So we could think about just playing, not just playing, but something like LaMelo with Sengun. That's a good little bit of mini correlation if you felt like playing that. I think that makes some sense. Aside from those two guys, that game doesn't really appear all that great. All right, so Cleveland against Houston. What did we say? Well, first of all, there's blowout risks there. And when I sort by point per dollar, it doesn't look like I'm getting it too much. Now, we are going to do some sims and some lineup building after this, after we go through the individual players, so that we can see who we're actually getting here. And as you've hopefully learned from watching hopefully a bunch of these, is that who looks good and who you actually want to play might not necessarily be the same. So it looks as though there's not much here. Like Walker Kessler, he's like the first guy I kind of even show up as decent value. And even when you sort it this way, very little. So I have to say, I think that the Cleveland-Utah game is probably not going to show up. So far, I mean, listen, when I used to, again, my kids are now out of college, but when they were applying to college, a while ago, we always fought this idea of whether to send them to a big school or a small school. You don't want it to be too small, you don't want it to be too big, but if you were thinking of sending them to a big school, the whole marketing thing was, well, how do you make a big school feel small, right? So that's the way I look at these slates. Like, how do you make a big slate feel a little small? So I think maybe just limiting Houston, Charlotte exposure to those two guys and almost Xing out Utah, Cleveland, at least from your head, is a way to do that. Now, again, the Sims will take care of all that for you, but just to get an idea of, again, who you think you might want. San Antonio, Philly. You have Embiid. Why am I not getting a? Oh, there he is. Boy, what a tough projection, right? Wemby's up to 11K. I mean, it's a little insulting to Mr. Embiid, isn't it? I mean, can you imagine if these guys were really into DFS? And you could have like DFS revenge. You'd have like Embiid can look and say, "Oh my God, I'm 1,400, 1,200 less than Wembanyama. I'm going to teach him a thing or two." It's almost like the clip we saw this past week of Tyreek Hill when he was talking about how he basically doesn't really watch film sessions, but he just watches Madden the night before and see who rates well, pretty much. Man, Embiid is 5%. Well, Wemby's tough though. I don't know what kind of ceiling Embiid can really put up here. So probably going to be avoiding those two also. And then when you look down points per dollar, there's really nothing else. Like Vassell 5,400, great, but the way the lineup construction is really going to look, I think, is going to be either Rollins or both Rollins and some of these Minnesota Orlando values, and then you pair them with whoever. I mean, then you could play Giannis or whatever studs or LaMelo, whatever ones you want. Okay. Now, I mentioned Boston Orlando. I was kind of imagining to see a projection on Cole Anthony, because out of just nowhere he came off the bench in Jalen Suggs' absence and put up a 60 piece. I was expecting at least to get some talk out of him, but alas, nothing. The only guys that are projecting well are the guys I mentioned. So Wendell Carter Jr., Goga. Oh, because Suggs is back. Oh, well, that's the answer. So I think that Carter and Goga, good enough values where you use them. I don't think you need to use too much else. And on the Boston side, I mean, nobody even projects over 5x, so I don't think I'm going to play anybody from them. So again, what are we're keeping this in our head, right? Like, you guys want a handbill? We could do that, right? You so far we have in the big slate being small, we have LaMelo, Sengun, then the Orlando guys. So LaMelo, here, you want to do this? You want to have some fun? Hold on, let's. I want to build like a lineup. NBA lineup. Like what we think we would play. So far, right? Let's do this. So far, we have LaMelo. Who did we say? Sengun. And we know we were always going to play that Rollins guy, so let's put him in even before we get to the game. So we know it's point guard only. And then who'd we say from Orlando we liked? We liked Carter at power forward. And, well, for now, we'll put in Goga, but we'll probably end up – these probably won't be the two sectors we end up using at the end of the day, but we'll see. All right, let's move on. Minnesota, Atlanta. So I looked at this before. And let's remind ourselves. First of all, Atlanta, really not much. I mean, you do have Larry Nance at 5.3x. I mean, not the worst play in the world. But, I mean, we already talked about some decent centers. I don't know if that's what I'm going to want to do here. But on the other side, I mentioned these Minnesota values. Let's take another look at these. So Minnesota, we have Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jaden McDaniels. Like, all these guys look really good. So we should put all these in just for now and see what we got. Now, unfortunately, say Naz Reid is a center. No, he's power forward too. So you could put him in a 4. You can sneak him in there. Is that what you're saying? And then you have, who did we say, McDaniels, DiVincenzo. So you could actually put him here. And McDaniels hits so funny. So far, we have a lineup with like all guys that we like. Now, we obviously wouldn't play this because we leave, you don't want to leave 3,600 on the table. But this is really cool. This reminded me of how I used to build lineups when I first started. And I'm pretty good right out of the gate. So what you could do sometimes is you build like lineups like this of guys that you know you like, and then just kind of just see what you need to do to upgrade. You know what I mean? Like, if I know I have 3,600 left, Maybe get up to another stud. Like I see Goga there at 6,400. Maybe get up to another 10K guy or something like that. All right, let's move on. Brooklyn, Miami. I don't remember seeing anybody from that game in my list here. Guys that look good. Let's see. Ben Simmons 5X. That's not too bad. So what we're going to try to do is try to find someone that projects well to replace one of these other guys. So Simmons, I mean 5X, I'd like a little more, but he definitely has a decent fantasy point projection. That's pretty much it from the Brooklyn side. Miami, let me just see. You usually get a good projection on Bam, but let's just see this time. Yeah, but again, it's only 5X though, and here only 5.2X. So maybe this maybe we're being too greedy with asking for too much out of Simmons, for example. Like if we again sort everything by point per dollar. I mean, is this that bad to get Simmons at what did I say he was? I mean, he still rates like pretty decently here. And when you sort by Sheets value score, where is he? I mean, way down here, but I think he's not bad. I mean, I don't think he's better than any of these guys, though. So we'll just keep this. Keep this for now. And again, we're never going to play it because it's 9,600. All right, Toronto against New York. Just make sure. Oh, look at this. So we have R.J. Barrett. Was supposed to come back on Sunday, but they rested him. And yeah, I mean, R.J. Barrett coming back to New York is going to be a fire lit under him for sure. Now, is that enough of a reason to play him? No, but if he projects well, I'm going to definitely make. Let's just say I'll put him near the top of the list if he actually projects decently. Well, let's take a look. Let's see. Let's pull up. Let's go straight. Well, let's just start with the Knicks. So Cat and Brunson both look pretty decent, actually. So again, like if you wanted to move up, I don't even if we can quite get from Goga up to say Cat. That's something you could do. Brunson, 8,300. We could certainly get up to him if we wanted him in this lineup. And then on Toronto, it just doesn't quite get there. The R.J. Barrett. Look at all these guys under 1%. This would be quite be quite amazing if you could pull this off. And the R.J. Barrett at 8,900 at 0.1% ownership, 0.67% ownership, going back to Madison Square Garden, tossed him out pretty much. Ooh, I'm gonna have to think about that one. But for now, do you want to like try to get him in? No, we can't quite get Cat in here. But we could get like Brunson. No, because Brunson's got to be a point guard. Not really going to fit. All right, so as I mentioned, Milwaukee, Chicago. So this Ryan Rollins is projecting to be a lock at 7X. And then after that, I mean, it's a question of whether we can get up to Giannis or not. And you could, right? So, like, you could play Giannis, say, instead of, like, LaMelo, for example. So, like, if you got rid of him, and then we could play, let's say even here. Let's say you played Giannis here. Then you could get to an $8,500 point guard. Like, for example, maybe something like that. So we're still playing guys we like. So that's something you could do. Let me see who else in this game Chicago, nothing really. So it's really just Rollins for value and Giannis for raw points. And that's pretty much it. LAC against Memphis. Probably a high-scoring game. Ja would be pretty interesting to me, actually. Let's see if he can project well. Let's see. First of all, Clippers. Harden, reasonable, I guess. Zubac Powell at 3 point. Oh my God, he is 7K, and coming in at 24% ownership. Boy, oh boy, the world of Norman Powell. Color me suspicious. I don't know. But it is what it is. Look at that value score, 155 for him. Yeah, I mean, he certainly looks decent. I'd have to really hold my nose for that one, though. As far as Memphis, yeah, so you have some decent ones over here. You have Zach Edey at center at 5.4x. So if you didn't want to play, see what you could do, right? Is you could go something like this. Like if you don't now we're not playing Sengun either, but now you play Edey. Now you can play for like even another high-priced guy. Any of the guys that we had mentioned. It's one of the reasons why it's good to have the optimizer. Like if you wanted to play Powell, I mean now obviously it's extremely easy. Let's take a look at Washington OKC. I mean, instinctively, seems like if I want to play anyone from Washington, it'd be someone that could keep him in the game, like someone like Jordan Poole. Let's just see. Let's see what projects well. First, let's look at OKC first. Yeah, I mean Shea. So Shea could have been that cat. You know what I mean? Like instead of playing cat, we could play Shea at 10-1. It's a tough one because of the blowout risk, but it's not bad. Hartenstein 7,100 feels like a lot, but he projects well enough where who cares about my feelings. Washington, yeah, Poole doesn't even project all that well. I mean, if at all. So this game might end up being a dud for me as far as DFS goes. If anything, maybe again, like maybe something like Shea. Then you can play Shea and Cat, by the way. Like maybe something like that. You play Brunson and Cat together. So you could play stuff. Portland, Dallas. I imagine Luka's going to look good. He always does. I imagine nobody else looks good. Let's just take a look. Portland, yeah, really nobody, even over 5x, just barely. And Luka looks, reasonable. 11.5 is tough, though, but he certainly has a big ceiling. So I think Luka's in play. So I think, I mean, we're going to run stuff now and see what we actually get to. But if you think about it, we were able to create like a pretty good core of like 15 guys out of a slate of 20 teams. And that doesn't mean that that's the end of the story and it's just like so easy, but you can do it, Let's take a look at SaberSim and let's see what we would get with SaberSim. So let's upload the projections. DFS is out. Dorian Finney-Smith. So it's Bill 5,000 lines, and I wonder if we get like a huge amount of exposure of the guys that I mentioned. Boy, who are these guys? notice these guys. Keontae George, Chris Dunn. What in the hell? Well, let's oh, that's the pool of 5,000. But even still, look at all these. Oh, it's Darius Garland. Let's see here. John Collins? Why all this? First of all, wait a minute. So John Collins was now doubtful. Keontae George is now doubtful. What's going on in Utah here? Hold on. Now he's doubtful. Okay. So John Collins being doubtful is going to change pretty much all of the projections. As a matter of fact, let's see something else. Keontae George has been graded doubtful. Now, all this is just as we kind of launched this. So we are going to rerun the projections. But what this is going to mean is that Colin Sexton at 5,500 is going to look like an extremely strong play. Also, Jordan Clarkson is going to look like an extremely strong play. If he's not suspended, hold on. He should be okay, right? I know he got into sort of a brouhaha. Yeah, so these are the two guys that I'd have to. These are the guys that are going to show up. So I mean, who else though? So John Collins is out. Then I imagine you get a bump, a natural bump from Markkanen, a natural bump from Kessler. Does this guy get in? The Filipowski or Sensabaugh? I don't know. Let's see just for the hell of it if they've upgraded this. No, they haven't even changed the projections yet. So these are the things that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But at least for now, just so I don't forget, let's take these guys out at least. And then we'll just go ahead and fire these into the contest. Let's go into autofill. Again, we've sorted by fee again. Let's upload these. Let's do FanDuel as well. Why not? We won't do the full projection. Well, actually, we'll take a quick look at it. First thing I want to do is I want to download my projections into SaberSim, or upload them, I should say, in SaberSim, so that I can run my sims quicker. It's better to do this early in the day when you're not as busy, I guess. Well, let's go ahead. Well, let's start at building. How about this? We'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll start at building, and then we'll see what the projections look like. So DFS is out. But let's do the right thing. Let's just see if the Utah guys have been adjusted for here. They have not. At least for now, we'll just at least X them out of here. Oh, so look what they did. Say they hedged there. So let's build the lineups here. And then when we look at FanDuel, I'll look at it real quick. See if there's any noticeable difference, like if you do play over there. Nah, it's still Ryan Rollins. He's he's dirt cheap over there. So he's going to end up being 100% owned, so to speak. I see a little bump for Jalen Williams, maybe. But that's the only main difference. So what we're doing, do we rerun we rerun these? I thought we reran these. Oh no, what I did was I just X'd them out. That's fine. These are not going to hold until we get these Utah projections anyway. Let's just see what happens. And again, we hit the contest sims are already saved my 2 tournaments that I was playing up in the contest tab. Okay. And same as before, we're going to go into autofill. I just wonder, just for the hell of it, how much of the Rollins we got here. Just 98%. All right, not a big deal. So that's going to be the guy that you're going to have to play, I think. You just got to make peace with it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about any of this? For those of you watching this for the first time, I encourage you to subscribe to TrueDFS, where you can get those projections every day, and hopefully get more content like this. In about a half hour or so, we're going to do the hockey, and then an hour after that, like 2 o'clock, we're going to do the NFL showdown stuff. Let me see. I have not yet, but I'm going to. Well, okay, you're talking about 2 different things, Adrian. So there's 2 things that are going on here. Number one is what I could do is I built 5,000 lineups, right? So what I could do is, instead of using this predetermined field to be the fadeaway field, flagship MME, you could choose for it to be something else, like within field lineups. Like for example, if you want to pick another, stock field lineup, you could pick like any of these others. But what you can also do is select, say, build one. In other words, I built 5,000 lineups. So if I instead wanted to presume that the flagship MME one that SaberSim liked was the field, I could presume that the 5,000 lineups, that thing that I built, was the field. And all you'd have to do is change that here to build one. Now, what's a little different than that, which is a new feature, is now when you upload custom projections. Now, again, I'm just going to show you how to do this. It's not going to apply to today because, again, this Utah thing just kind of came out. But what you can do is, let's say I had like customized projections, which I do. When you upload them, it'll give you this toggle here that says automatically create custom fields from ownership. The toggle is on. We can create field lineups automatically based on your uploaded ownership. And the field lineups will be sent to a new build for you after you save the ownership source. So what you would do is you click here, and we're going to, did I save the ownership source? Yeah. So we're going to call this, true test. And we're going to hit 5,000. We're going to hit save. So it takes a little bit of time, but not that bad. And then what you could do is use this field to sim your 5,000 against. So what are the risks of this? Well, the risk is that that your field is not as accurate as the SaberSim one. So it's kind of a holy war, right? I mean, you have to think about it. Do you think that you're better at creating a field than SaberSim? I will tell you that the answer is probably no. So in general, you probably don't want to do this. Now, I did this for NFL yesterday, by the way, with just miserable results. I'll just say. I'm not saying the results are indicative of the process, but oh boy, it was rough out there. So I don't know. I would now with respect to the other technique about just simming against your 5,000. So the risk you run with that, okay, it's kind of interesting. The risk you run with that is that you created probably too sharp of a field, right? Because if you're building your top 5,000 lineups, rated by SaberScore, for example, then you're not really giving a good representation of what the field is doing. Right? Because if you build 5,000 of your own, of a good high upside line, I couldn't do this yet. Couldn't build field lines. I don't know what to type. So it couldn't do it. It usually can do it. But if you build, 5,000 top lineups, that's not really representative of the field, because a good amount of the field, let's say 20% of the field, has really bad lineups. So unless you can figure out a way to insert bad lineups in, you're not really giving a great representation of the field. Where if you do it just by the ownership, then you at least are going to get some kind of bad lineups in there. I strongly advise, unless you really know what you're doing, to just go with the SaberSim stock builds. So that would be my advice for that. Now, did I save these? Did I save these? By the way, I did save the FanDuel ones. So I'm going to get to hockey in about 20 minutes. But remember, we have to update for Utah, and I will see you guys at about 6 o'clock later today. I hope that helps. Good question, Adrian. And I'll catch you guys later.